Welcome to Design Your Life in Business, the podcast for leaders by Bright Mind Consulting Group. We give you the necessary tools to help you become the architect of not just your business, but your life too. I'm your host, Jevon Wooden. Hey, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And we're today talking about something a lot of the designers listening want to know: writing a book and how it can significantly boost your business. So we have an expert here today. First question we're going to start off with is one I love. So I'm going to continue asking it. Who are you actually? Who is Divya Parekh?
So that's a great question. So the way I look at myself is I'm a human being first before anything else. And I always aspire, or the way I look at my essence is to be like an ocean because ocean is playful, fun, helps, and also so deep that it nurtures a whole ecosystem. And without oceans, we could not do so many things. So that's what I aspire to be.
Wow, that was beautiful. So I know this is going to be a great conversation because that was very poetic, Divya. That reminds me of Bruce Lee says, "Be like water." Right? Water is fluid, but water is helpful, but it's also strong. So I love that. Let's get into this conversation about writing a book. First of all, can you share a moment with us just really quickly when you realized that writing a book could significantly boost a business?
Let me just kind of rewind it a little bit. When I used to be a child, I used to write poems and short stories and bore the company out of heck. And when I grew up, my mom said, so many people would really hesitate coming to our house because parents would parade their kids and you would be right out there with your short stories. So what happened was I did have a passion for books and a passion for writing. And then I went into science. So kind of sort of forgot about it. And then what happened was because I was working with a lot of different inner city kids and doing a lot of pro bono coaching while I was establishing my coaching, I was invited to contribute to an anthology. And so that just kind of speared my entry into the book world again and writing.
Real quick, where did you grow up, Divya?
I grew up in India.
Oh, okay. So how was it coming up? Like, did your parents really you said they kind of praised you if you had that talent, but did they really support you and cultivate your writing talent?
Oh, yeah. So they supported me in whatever I wanted to be because I still remember my mom would try different things. And, she had put me into dancing. And then I would, as extracurricular activities. And I would always be just kind of making excuses. So the teacher called my mom and said, it would be really, really helpful if you would take her out of the extracurricular activity. We don't want to disappoint a child or not encourage. And so I used to love playing sports. So basically, I was very fortunate to have been born to great parents who encouraged us to do wherever our heart took us.
Absolutely. I mean, that is definitely something that helps as you get older. But I know there's some designers now who's like, "Hey, I built this business. I felt like I was doing it on my own for a long time." So how do you support like business owners when they're coming in to write a book?
Now, one of the best ways what we do is that, first of all, when we have that conversation, the key is that we have the right chemistry going. Because if there is not the right chemistry, so that's the first step. And then the second thing is it's more about the business owner than me. Am I and my team able to serve them? Because if you're not able to serve them, then we'll refer them out. Because the whole idea is that together we can create an impact. And my goal in the next 10 years is to impact million lives, and I cannot do it alone. It is by helping others and we all coming together and jointly impacting more and more lives.
And that's beautifully said. You know, that kind of aligns with my mission as well, is to create that impact. And a book is a great way to do it. So how does one know when they should even start writing a book?
So it depends on what are your aspirations. So, for example, let's say if you're just there, I want to write a book for myself, then it's another story. You can write a book, self publish. There are no KPIs associated with it. Now, if you're looking to have a business card on steroids, you want to build that credibility. Then, oh, you want to have instant trust, or you want to nurture those relationships with people. You want to impact one to many. You want to grow your business. You want to get speaking engagements. You want to build a course of your book. So there's so many different things that you can do that if any of these kind of checks, then the idea is important. And then the key thing to know is that, are you ready to draw a line in the sand? Are you ready to make that commitment? Because once the book is out there, it is not a short piece of media, like whether it's a YouTube short or like even if it's a YouTube, yes, it can get kind of locked. And there's so many different YouTube notifications replacing the another one. You write a Facebook post or you write an article that's short lived. There's a lot of longevity to books. And people may say, oh, there are hundreds and thousands of books being published every year. That said, it will be floating around. Let's say if somebody has purchased the book, it can go from somebody's hand to another. It has a whole lot more longevity. And once it's out of your hands, it's gone. So the key is to know that you're ready to draw a line in the sand. You're ready to put that stake in the ground that, yes, this is what I'm going to be sharing about, and I stand behind it. And that's where so many people are afraid to do that.
Absolutely. That's a great point because I know when I wrote my book On Your Kingdom, I wrote it to get that thought leadership, but also in order to, like you said, that business card. So I love that you mentioned that, it can kind of take up life as its own. You may have one idea, but then it can take you somewhere completely different, right? And it may not happen immediately. It may be one of those things that 5 years later you forgot you even wrote the book. Someone says, "Hey, I found your book, and I would love for you to come speak." So it's like, when someone comes to you, how do you kind of guide them and let them know, like, hey, let me level set with you. You can have these kind of aspirations, but it may go a completely different way, or it may not go the way you want it to go immediately. How do you set those levels to what they expect?
So, one of the things, going back to our chemistry call, where we are making sure that we match, one of the things I always tell people is that if you're ready to hear what you don't want to hear, then I'm your partner. So actually, two or three potential clients told me that, why are you trying to dissuade us to working from you? I'm like, because I'm here in the spirit of service. If I tell you what you want to hear, then what's even the point? You don't need me. I'd rather you go and do things on your own. So the key is that, it's also like, okay, people have an idea, but is that idea marketable? Is that idea relatable? Is that idea going to help you grow your business? So it again goes back to, what is the objective? If the objective is that I just want to write, I'm passionate about this, that it's another story. Now, if you're looking to write that business book that will create an impact for readers, then it's important to find that unique angle or find another niche. It doesn't mean you just kind of sacrifice your idea. It's just like how it will serve your market, how it will serve your reader.
Right. And how do you kind of discover that? How do you do that market research, come up with your theme and the content of the book?
Well, so first of all, what can be done is that initially, I'm very fortunate to have a great team. So first, let's say somebody, once we're working together, is like, okay, this is the idea, and I definitely want to do this. So then we go and do a lot of market research. And as part of the market research, we will find out, what books are out there. And then also as part of market research, what's involved is surveys and asking the readers themselves. So there are a lot of different elements and pieces that go into it. Given the time we have, it would be more around asking, checking, and also like seeing, what are the products, what's the market trends, what's happening. These are some of the things that people can do to see how big of a market you have. And sometimes the books can be a lost leader. I tell people, unless you are a celebrity or a household name, don't expect your book to make you millions. If you're just looking your book as a precursor to your business, I mean, there's so many different scenarios I could go over like for a whole day. So, for example, like, one of my clients, she just wanted the book to be something that her people would read and she would coach them along it. So when she was coaching, she would say, like, why don't you go read chapter one? And what we are going to do is we are going to then take your problem and we will coach with the book, like taking the principles. So her mission was to provide a very low cost, effective coaching so she could do that using the book. So it would go back again to like, what's your objective?
There's this question I'm thinking of is like, how what about your personal brand? Say, me as a business growth strategist. Yes, I my first book was on mindset. And the book I'm writing now is more how to grow a business focus. But what if I just wanted to create a children's book? Does that impact my personal brand, or should I be thinking about things like that?
Well, it depends. So as long as you're not, so let's say if you have a website where you're talking about business growth strategist, and now if you're posting your children's book on that, it's going to confuse the visitor who is visiting your website. Now, versus like, you just kind of create another website with it and you have that children's book for your children or to pass it down to your children's children or to share it with your nephews and niece and friends, family. It most likely doesn't hurt your brand because you're being authentic about it. You're not pushing it onto people that you're helping out with business.
Got it. Got it. How do you feel about Amazon? I hear a lot of book coaches or author coaches saying, "Hey, I recommend you don't sell on Amazon." What's your thoughts on that, Divya?
Oh, you mean don't sell it on Amazon?
Yeah, they say don't put your book on Amazon. Like sell it through your own website because Amazon gets the data. Amazon takes a percentage of your royalties, all that stuff. What are your thoughts?
It depends on the situation. So, for example, if you want worldwide distribution, you may not get the data, you may not get the readers, but then you can arrange a book in such a way that your reader is coming back to you. So there are a lot of ways where you can ethically work around it. And let's say if like if you have a huge audience, you don't need Amazon. So then you can have it on your website. It is looking at what's your business objective. Are you looking to just connect with the readers? Are you going to just use it as a lead magnet? Are you going to use it just as for a speaking engagement? So if that's the case, then you don't need to. As long as you're connected with a printer that gives you like the benefits of being on Amazon or for any other platform for that matter is that you can get books on demand. Versus if you go with, because we've got like ties with professional printers, and the minimum they'll do is 1,000 books. So, do you know that you'll be able to move those many number of books? Are you going to be like, just a simple thing like, are you going to be going and shipping those books? Are you just using digital books? Are you just using
Hmm.
audiobooks? So, books is such a complicated and complex world that we could address
Take
multiple
it
things
anywhere, right?
together. Yeah, but these are a few of the things that, people can think about.
Right. And then you mentioned a couple of things there. So the conversation of traditional publishing versus self-publishing, what are your thoughts on that? Do you prefer one over the other?
It depends. So, for example, if you really want to get the traditional publisher behind you, know that they do expect to market you to market your book. It's yes, they will do that. You'll get 10% royalty. And even before that, it's really important that you have a literary agent. If you don't want to go through literary agent, then it's important to know, like, what kind of proposals you're going to write. Are you going to include everything? Like, what's your book going to be about? Are you going to include the first chapter? Are you willing to give away your creative control? Are you willing to pound the doors of a lot of different publishers? Sometimes you can get accepted, sometimes you may not. So just looking at the story of Chicken Soup of the Soul. So Jack Canfield and Victor, they pounded the door and they got so many rejections. Then they were like, I don't know, like 380, I don't remember exact, $380,000 short or something like that. in 2 years, and then they got on. So they decided, like, okay, let's get on multiple, just radio. Let's go hit the media. So they started bringing to the media, going to the shows, and then went to the trade shows or different, like, book conferences and different areas, and they got like the order of 20K. And once they had that in the hand, they got a publisher. So the different stories. Sometimes it can fall into your lap. Sometimes it can be easy. Sometimes you gotta hit the pavement. So there's not a defined trajectory here. So that's the traditional publisher side. And the self publishing side is that it's important that you have a very good quality book, like what you're putting out there, just like as if it would be for something that a traditional publisher would do. Have you had good editing done? What's your book cover looking like? You're not just going to Canva and slapping it on and just like, okay, let me put the book cover and let me go and it's done.
Low
So that's the
grade
difference.
covers.
That's one of the big difference where self-publishing books kind of get a bad connotation or a bad reputation. Do the quality work where you would be proud to put next to any publisher's book. And then, of course, you're going to retain creative control. And then, at the same token, you got to do the marketing because key, especially if you're an entrepreneur, look at the book as a lost leader. And when you look at the book as a lost leader, it's so wonderful. You're not thinking about making money. What you're thinking about is how can this book become the portal to the rest of my business? How can the chapters in my book be repurposed into social media content? How can the content in my book become the speeches, like 5 main topics that I talk on? That could be your top 5 chapters. How could you build your course on it? So that's the whole idea, is taking the book and creating that gateway to your successful business.
Absolutely. And then, when you do self-publish, say we chose to go that route, are there certain publishers that the listeners should be looking at?
Well, it depends. Like if you're looking to not go on Amazon, then you can go through Ingram Spark, and through Ingram Spark, you can go on multiple different platforms. Then there's Barnes and Nobles, then there is Kobo, then there is Apple. Remember that sometimes when you're trying to go on multiple publishing sites, now you got to format the book according to that. You have to submit it, and let's say if something doesn't work out. So it's a labor of love. It's not as easy as it sounds. And sometimes, like whether it's there, you will not even have somebody to speak to over the phone. Now you're waiting on the emails, you keep on sending it, you're not able to troubleshoot. So, whatever I'll say is that regardless of whatever route you take, be prepared for the long haul.
Absolutely. It's definitely a long haul. And then how many pages should one look to write? Is there like a minimum and a maximum?
Well, generally, like if you're looking to just kind of like have the readers get acquainted with you and you want to do the book as authority positioning, then 120, 130 pages is a good book because people have such short attention span that shorter the book, the better it is. And then if you're looking to establish a point or like provide a whole lot more, then I would say around 200-page book. But then again, depending on your objective, it could be more.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, as someone writes the book and say they put it out there and it's like they're getting terrible reviews, how do you handle that feedback and criticism from readers as an artist author?
So that again goes back to my first thing, is that you're ready to put a stake in the ground. So if you're on Amazon, whatever the review is, it will stay there unless you find that somebody's really out to get you. Then you might want to take your book down and republish it. So, and then look through those, like, what were the objections? What were the points the readers were saying? Did it really have value or was it just completely out of spite? So, if you're writing about something controversial, be prepared and also know that if you have not displeased a few folks, you've not done your job of writing the book.
That's a great way to look at it. Everyone's not going to agree with your perspective and your points, right?
Yep. And the goal is like, putting your book in front of people who resonate with you. So then that way, like, when people are looking at different reviews, I mean, go for any product review on Google. You'll find good and bad both, whether it's restaurants, services, products, anything.
How important do you think like storytelling is when you write in, say, a business related book, and why either way you go?
Well, personally, I'm a fan of storytelling. So I say, regardless whether it's a business book, whether it's a Facebook post, wherever you are at, it's important to tell stories. So, for example, like I'm just going to kind of dissect what I did over here today. When I shared the story that I was interested in it since I was a child, that will stick with people rather than if I would have just had said, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was interested in writing stories. So that becomes bland versus storytelling is something that lights the fire in your soul, is something that will show you the point you're trying to make rather than tell. Because I heard this somewhere, stories sell, facts tell.
That's true. Yeah, hear it all the time. And then Maya Angelou, we always say her quotes. I know I say it all the time. People forget what you said, forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And stories allow you to get that emotion evoked, whatever that emotion is that you're looking to get. And some people will respond differently, which is why we get those negative and those positive reviews. So that's a great point, Divya. So can you kind of share some of like the success stories that you've had working with your clients? Like, what's the best that you've gotten, bestseller, or maybe they gotten a couple speaking engagements? What can the authors look forward to?
So, and thank you for asking that. Usually I don't like sharing because this is your show and I'm here to support your audience so that they can learn and do their stuff. So I'll share with you like I was working with one of psychotherapists, and when she came to me, she had been writing her book for like 2.5, 3 years, and there was that blockage, like, how can I share my story with the world? And here's the thing, you don't have to put everything out there. You can still leave some things to imagination and still withhold. So it's, what do you feel authentic about? What do you feel comfortable with? What do you think will help your reader relate to you? And we did that. And even before her book came out, like, her book was a best selling book, she had speaking engagements from companies because we released the book at a time where what her book was about. So it was around like Asian culture, and that was the Asian month. So when the Asian Heritage Month was going around, she got multiple speaking engagements. She got invitations from local TV station where, because let's say she's a psychotherapist and there is mental health, and if in that time during that month, like mental health is going on, then you can become the go-to person for their segment. So another thing that one of my clients, like we helped her write a book where it was just about authentic positioning as to what she had gone through and how she had helped her clients. When she released her book, she found out like within 3 days, because she was going at it, right? It again comes back to marketing. Book just writing by itself doesn't work. She just went all out using all the strategies we had shared with her. She got 3 clients in 3 days. So, for one of the hypnotherapists that I worked with, her book was so good that other hypnotherapists were reaching out to her and saying, oh, you know what? Can we keep that book in our office? Because it's so helpful. Like, we can share it, like, in what, especially while our clients are waiting, they can read that book and be helpful. So she got an order for like 5K. So and these are different stories that people have experienced. Of course, I could go on with some of the examples.
No, I thought it was good for the designers to hear it, because these are some of the things that you can get if you write a book that hits and resonates with your target audience. And you keep mentioning marketing. So what does that look like for an author? Like the marketing, do you do press releases? Do you go on book signing tours? What are some of the tools and techniques that the authors do when they're looking to get their book to that level?
Well, one of the first things the authors need to do is create a platform. Now, that platform can be email, growing your email list, because it's super important. So many times, what happens is sometimes somebody's account is shut down, sometimes your post doesn't get bumped up. And so it's really, really important. that you go ahead and kind of take a look at that and see what's happening. Now, it could be like, okay, you're on LinkedIn. So I recommend being on multiple platforms. And not only that, but also being having something of your own email list, then going on different podcasts, getting in the media. Also, like as you mentioned, press releases. Also, a lot of things kind of come into the Facebook marketing, Amazon marketing. So it's again that's so big it can go, but you gotta see what works for you because you don't just want to go out there and abandonedly do it. Try one step at a time and see what's working, and then rinse and repeat it.
There's a question now. What about time? How long does it take to write a book? And what do you feel if someone says, "Hey, I don't have time"? What do you think about like ghostwriters or something like that?
So that will depend, like, especially if you don't have time, you can hire a ghostwriter. It can be done in a month, it can be done in 2 years. So I have personally done from 1 month to 6 months to 9 months. And with my clients, again, it's gone from like, 30 days up to 2.5 years.
Wow. Does that depend on the page length that we talked about and that market research, or what kind of
It was the
the
market research
insights?
and it was also the author standing in their own way.
How many times did they switch? They probably switched what they were wanted to write about a couple times in there.
Yeah.
Got it.
But as coaches, it's our job to create that space that they can grow and get that empowerment rather than us pushing anything on them. Our job is to
Gotcha.
show them the pathways and it's their job to make the decision.
Got it. What are some of the like biggest misconceptions that you think people have about writing books?
One misconception is one is like, oh, I'm going to make millions. No, you're not going to make millions. Now, another
I
misconception is that
wish.
traditional
I,
publishing is so good. It's not. You lose your creative control. You gotta give that. And third misconception is like, oh, I don't have to do marketing if I go traditional publishing. No, you gotta do it.
yeah, they expect it, right? Some of the traditional publishers, I think you kind of hit on it before. They expect you to sell a number of copies before you even come to them, right?
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Now, thank you for that because I think it's important to know, like like I said, what you can expect as an author. What the process looks like. Some of the pitfalls you may hit where you think you're going to sell thousands of copies and you get crickets. So I think I'm glad you kind of hit those types of subjects. So we're going to kind of shift here a little bit. We're going to go to the by design segment where I ask every guest the same three questions. Are you ready, Divya? All right, let's roll. What has been the hardest part about designing a life and business you don't need a vacation from?
Well, the hardest part it has been getting myself out of the way.
That's it. I mean, enough said. We all feel that, right? All the designers know, I know. So, number two, what is the best lesson you've learned from your entrepreneurial journey?
Entrepreneurial journey is to become comfortable with uncertainty and change.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, especially we're seeing it now. The economy changes. Some of our methods have to change. Marketing have to change, as you kept alluding to. So that's key. The third question is: what are three tools or tips that you would recommend when scaling a business?
What I would recommend is have a team that are willing to grow with you. So just don't bring people like, who are just kind of looking to like, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm doing it. Bring people on who are hungry for growth and serving others. First thing. Second is bringing on clients that uplift you while you're uplifting them. Because if you bring somebody who's draining you, that will take the passion out of you. Forget about scaling, you'll not even be able to do your current business. And third is having, of course, mentor or coach by your side. I've always had that, even to this day, I have it, so that you can have your SOPs and operating processes and automatizing your business so that you're working on business and not working in the business.
Absolutely. And speaking of a coach, if someone wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to do so, Divya?
Well, people can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm under with my first and last name. People can reach out to me on my email, contact@divyaparekh.com. I am on Facebook, Instagram, so feel free to connect with me anywhere.
Awesome. And those links will be in the show notes, everyone. So go ahead and connect with Divya. We appreciate you coming here and adding some value about writing books, and getting rid of some of those, misconceptions, and also giving us some game on how we can write our books and make them successful. So thank you so much, Divya, for being here on the Design Your Life and Business podcast. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Remember, designers, keep ascending.
Thank you, Juan. It's been an honor with you. You've got such a beautiful knack and great
Thank you.
questions. Thank you.
Oh,
Really
wow.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that so much. See you soon. Design Your Life in Business, the podcast for leaders, is brought to you by Bright Mind Consulting Group. To find out more about Bright Mind Consulting Group and how you can become the best leader possible, visit brightmindconsultinggroup.com. Make sure you search for Design Your Life in Business on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Bright Mind Consulting Group, we cannot thank you enough for listening.